Good morning, students. Today let us start with module number 3, that is Laplace and Poisson's equations. Okay. In our previous session what we have seen is we have solved few problems on continuity equation, current density, right? So let us go with module number 3 in this particular session. The first topic in this particular module is Poisson's equation and Laplace equation. Poisson's equation and Laplace equation. Before going to develop mathematical model for these two, so let us see where the Poisson's equation is applicable and where the Laplace equation is applicable in electromagnetic wave theory concepts. Okay, let us consider, in order to understand this, let us consider a charged region. Let us consider a charged region. Okay, this is the region which is charged positively. Obviously we know that a charged particles develop electric field around it, right? Charged particles always develop electric field around it. So here, where the region where the charges exist, the physical charges exist, where the Poisson's equation holds good, where the charges, physical charges are present, that region in which Poisson's equations are applicable, and the space where only the electric field is present, where Laplace equation is applicable. The region where the charges are absent but the field is present, in that space the Laplace equation is applicable. Whereas in Poisson's equation both charges and field is present. Okay, keep that in your mind before going to develop a mathematical model. We have Maxwell's equations, right? Maxwell's equation. What is this Maxwell's equation? Gradient dot D is equal to rho V. This is the Maxwell's equation. But we know that D is equal to epsilon into E. Okay, field and D is related by this equation. Also we know that E is equal to minus gradient into V. So in our previous class we have derived all these things. Substitute these two quantities into the above equation. What we are going to get? Gradient dot, instead of D I will substitute epsilon into E is equal to rho V. Again in the next step, gradient dot epsilon into minus gradient into V, because E is equal to minus gradient into V is equal to rho V. Since epsilon is constant, take it outside, then gradient dot minus also I have taken outside, gradient dot V is equal to rho V. This is the equation. What is this? Dot product between these two becomes gradient square into V is equal to rho V, right? Now in the next step, gradient square V is equal to minus rho V divided by epsilon. This equation is called as Poisson's equation. This equation is called as Poisson's equation, which is applicable for homogeneous area. What is this homogeneous area? It is the area where all the parameters, material parameters remains constant and in each and every point. Okay, homogeneous area means it is a space in the material where the materialistic properties are constant, uniform, wherever you are trying to measure. So that kind of materialistic area is called as homogeneous area. So for homogeneous area or homogeneous space, the Poisson's equation is applicable. This equation is called as Poisson's equation. The same equation can be used to obtain Laplace equation, that is rho v is equal to 0, where rho v is equal to 0, when the charges are not present in an area but field in the presence of field only. Under that circumstance, rho v is equal to 0. Then the Poisson's equation becomes gradient square dot v is equal to 0. This is called Laplace equation. Laplace equation. Look at this statement now. Look at this geometry now. Wherever the electric charges are present, then it is Poisson's space. Wherever the charges are absent but only field is present, that space is Laplace space. The equation also supports the same. See, rho v is the number of charges present within that particular region, right? Within that particular volume. So where the Laplace Poisson's equation consists of rho v component here. Here rho v component, charge component is absent in Laplace equation, but we have only the potential field, or we know that v, if v is present, obviously electric field is present because we have the relationship between these two, right? Okay, this is all about Poisson's and Laplace equation. Understood? Let us continue with the next topic. So that is gradient square v is expressed in different coordinate system as follows. What is this gradient square into v? This is called Laplace equation. Laplace equation is going to represent in all the three different coordinate system in this fashion. Gradient square v is equal to dou square v by dou x square plus dou square v by dou y square plus dou square v by dou z square in Cartesian coordinate system. Cartesian coordinate. This is in terms of cylindrical coordinate system. The third one, this is in terms of spherical coordinate system. So why all the three components are required? See, look at this. We have this equation, right? Gradient square v is equal to 0. This is the Laplace equation which we have derived just now, right? What is this? The distribution of potential field V, the distribution of potential field V is based on three different coordinate system. If the distribution is about Cartesian symmetry, then we should go for this equation, application of this equation in order to solve the electromagnetic wave theory problems. If the distribution of potential field V is of cylindrical symmetry, then we go for this equation. If it is spherical symmetry, then we need to apply this equation for simplifying the Laplace equation. Now another important aspect we need to consider while solving or while simplifying the Laplace's equation, we need to consider the boundary conditions. Okay, the boundary conditions are very important. Boundary conditions. Based on the boundary conditions, we are going to simplify the Laplace equation for potential field symmetry, right? So the solution obtained by applying the boundary conditions are unique or not. That is the problem in the next phase, right? So whatever the solution which we are going to obtain after solving the Laplace equation by applying the boundary conditions, so we have some doubt in our mind whether the solution obtained is unique or not. So is there any other solution? Is the obtained solution itself applicable for everywhere? Right? That is the next question in our mind. In order to prove that the obtained solution is unique, then we go for uniqueness theorem. What it says, under the given boundary conditions, Laplace equation has one and only one solution. Look at this statement. Under the given boundary condition, this boundary condition, for the given boundary condition, Laplace equation has one and only solution. The same holds good for Poisson's equation also. This is the statement of uniqueness theorem. Let us see the uniqueness theorem. Okay, before going to the derivation of our uniqueness theorem, we need to have the information about boundary conditions, right? So why boundary conditions are required here? See, whenever you are moving from the same homogeneous medium from one point to another point, there is a smooth transition between 2 points, right? So whenever you try to move from one medium to another medium, there is an abrupt change in direction of the field, so which is absent in the same medium, right? So if we consider the same medium, that is homogeneous medium, where the electric field intensity or flux density movement is smooth, even though it is continuously varying. But if in case of two medium, that is from medium 2 to medium 1, there are two different mediums with two different dielectric constant epsilon 1 and epsilon 2. See, in this case, so there is an abrupt change in direction of the electric field intensity in this particular case. If the electric field intensity changes, obviously density changes, field changes, every electromagnetic wave theory parameters are going to change. We need to consider this kind of abrupt change in the parameters while solving the Maxwell's equations, Laplace equations or Poisson's equations, right? In order to do so, we are analyzing this boundary conditions through this mathematical model. Let me explain this geometry. Consider two medium 1 with dielectric constant epsilon 1, medium 2 with dielectric constant epsilon 2. So at the boundary we have considered a rectangular contour. At the boundary of these two medium, we have considered a rectangular contour ABCD. So these components AB and CD are of the length delta L. The distance BC and AD is very less and it is neglected. Okay, keep that in your mind. Distance AD and CB is very small, hence it is neglected. Only we have considered the distance delta L, that is from A to B, C to D. So these two components are tangential to the surface or boundary. Okay. Now, in order to move a unit positive charge from one point to another point, the work done is given by integral of E dot dl. But in this case, the work done in order to move a unit positive charge within the closed path, then the work done is equal to 0. Then the above equation becomes in this form. Since we have two mediums with two fields E1 and E2, this equation can be represented in this form, that is E1 is varying from A to B, E2 is varying from C to D. Got it? E2 is varying from C to D. But here the above equation can be represented in this form as a dot product. Why the negative sign comes here? Look at the direction. Both the directions are opposite, hence E2 direction is taken as negative. Okay? So E1 minus E2 dot delta L is equal to 0. If we apply the distributive property for this, then this becomes E1 dot delta L and E2 dot delta L. So these two are represented as tangential component ET1, tangential component ET2 with respect to E1 and E2. With respect to E1 and E2. This is just tangential components representations. ET1 and ET2 are the tangential components. Then by substituting ET1 and ET2 into the above equation, since those two are components are equivalent to 0, then ET1 becomes ET2, right? Look at this. If we substitute E1 dot delta L as ET1, E2 dot delta L as ET2, if I substitute it to this equation, which is equated to 0, so which forms ET1 minus ET2 is equal to 0, right? Since it is equivalent to 0, we can easily say ET1 is equal to ET2. Both the tangential components are equivalent. So we know the expression for electric field intensity, E is equal to D by epsilon R, or we can say D is equal to epsilon into E, right? This is the relationship we knew already. By using this relationship, we have written this form. ET1 is equal to DT1 by epsilon 1, ET2 is equal to DT2 by epsilon 2. By equating both the things for the above equation, this is the resultant we are going to get. DT1 by DT2 is equal to epsilon 1 by epsilon 2. This is the resultant of the boundary conditions which we have considered. So what happens when the normal components are present? Now in the same two different mediums of dielectric constants epsilon 1 and epsilon 2, now the geometrical shape which we have considered is a pillbox type Gaussian surface. The closed surface which we have considered is of pillbox type, which is a Gaussian surface we have considered. D2 is the entering flux density, D1 is the leaving flux density. So we have two flat surfaces, bottom flat surface and top flat surface. So at both the top surface we have the normal vector, normal unit vector ejecting at both the surface, that is n1 cap on top, n2 cap on bottom, which forms an angle theta between D. N cap and D forms theta. Okay, so here this becomes theta 1 and here this becomes theta 2. D2 forms an angle theta 2 between n cap 2. D1 forms an angle theta 1 with respect to n cap 1. This is the geometrical consideration we have taken in order to show the normal components. Now the flux over the top and bottom surface is given by this equation. The flux over the top surface is integral of d1 dot ds, bottom surface is minus integral of d2 dot ds. Why minus? Negative sign comes here. The negative sign comes here because the entering flux density is always negative. The entering flux density to a medium is considered to be negative, hence negative sign comes here. Okay, hence the negative sign comes here. The total flux out of this Gaussian surface is sum of top and bottom things, so which is the total flux equation. Since d1 and d2 are constant over the delta S, what is delta S? Delta S is the surface area of top and bottom surface. Okay, so within that surface area d1 and d2 are constant, hence these two components can be represented in this form as dot product. By using Gauss law, what Gauss law says? the total flux inside the closed surface is equal to the amount of charge enclosed within it, right? This is what Gauss law says. Total flux is equivalent to the amount of charge enclosed with it. So total flux is given by this equation. What about amount of charge? Since it is a surface area, we need to consider the surface charge density rho s into delta s. This is the amount of charge present in the Gaussian surface which we have considered, right? Now this can be represented in terms of unit vector components as in this equation, okay? d1 dot delta s can be represented in this form. Delta s gets cancelled, then we left with this component where d1 dot n1 cap can be represented as dn1, d2 dot n2 cap can be represented as dn2. dn1 minus dn2 is equal to rho s. Since rho s is equal to 0 at the interface, why? At this interface there is no charges present, hence the surface charge density rho s is equal to 0. When rho s becomes 0, we can easily say dn1 is equal to dn2, okay? Then coming to this, we have this relationship d is equal to epsilon into E. dn1 can be represented as epsilon 1 into en1, dn2 can be represented as epsilon 2 into en2. Simple as that. But we know that epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 are different because we have taken two different dielectric materials, okay? Since dielectric materials are different, electric field intensities E1 and E2 are different. We cannot say both the things are equal. Even though these two components are equal, these components are not equal. Keep that in your mind. There are two different dielectric constants, hence electric field intensity also not equal, okay? Now we need to establish the relationship between electric field intensity between these two components here, E2 and E1. Here also E2 and E1. We need to establish the relationship between electric field intensities of the interface. Now if we expand this dot product, what we are going to get? d1, let me write here d1 dot n1 cap can be expanded as d1 into 1 into cos theta 1, right? So simply we can call it as d1 cos theta 1. Similarly, what about d2 dot n2 cap? d2 cos theta 2. That's what I have written here. dn1 can be written as d1 cos theta 1, dn2 can be written as d2 cos theta 2. So we just expanded this dot product. Since n1 cap and n2 cap is unit vector, its magnitude is 1. So we have written in this form. Substitute these two components into this equation, dn1 is equal to dn2. So this is the resultant, okay? Now looking at this tangential components, dt1 tangential component of the medium 1 divided by tangential component of the medium 2 is equal to d1 sin theta 1 divided by d2 sin theta 2. These are normal components. N means normal components. Tangential component become sine. Normal component is cosine. Keep that in your mind, okay? Let me bifurcate here. Normal components are cosine. Tangential components are sine. Okay, dt1 by dt2 is equal to d1 sin theta 1, d2 sin theta 2, which is equivalent to what? Epsilon 1 by epsilon 2. That's what I have written here. We have substituted these components into this equation. Then rearrange this equation. d2 sin theta 2 is equal to epsilon 2 by epsilon 1 d1 sin theta 1. Just we have rearranged this equation in order to obtain this form. Now squaring and adding this equation with this equation. Squaring and adding these two equations, result in d2 square is equal to d1 square into cos square theta 1 plus epsilon 2 by epsilon 1 whole square sin square theta 1. This is the resultant which we have got. Solving this equation here, taking square into this side RHS, this is the resultant. Okay, we know that D and E is related by using this equation. Then D can be replaced by this equation with E1 by epsilon 1 by epsilon 2 ratio. Then this is the resultant equation after solving the above equation. This is the relationship between electric field intensity of medium 2 with the electric field intensity of medium 1 with their respective dielectric constants. Okay, coming back to the uniqueness theorem proof. So let us consider the Laplace equation, that is gradient square into V is equal to 0. So let us choose two different solutions for this Laplace equation. Let it be gradient square V1 is equal to 0 and gradient square V2 is equal to 0, where V1 and V2 are the two solutions. We need to prove that V1 is equal to V2. So in order to do so, let us consider the above equations. Okay, let me tell you like this. Let us subtract these two equations, gradient square of V1 minus V2, then RHS becomes 0. On subtracting the above equations, we will get this equation where gradient square F is equal to 0. What is F? F is considered as V1 minus V2. This quantity is considered as F, which is a scalar quantity. V1 minus V2 is a scalar quantity. At boundary, so V1 becomes V1b, V2 becomes V2b, then F becomes Fb. Okay, the function F becomes F at the boundary. The solution V1 becomes V2 at boundary, V1 at boundary and V2 at boundary. Then V1 is equal to V2 is equal to Vb. Okay, therefore since all the solutions are equivalent to Vb, then F becomes Fb. So which is also equal to V1b minus V2b is equal to 0. Then substitute for any vector A, any general vector A, we have this relationship in our vector algebra. So keep this in your mind. So for any vector A, this is the thing, but here in this case vector A is considered to be delta F. Okay, so vector A is replaced by delta F into this equation. Let me show here. So A is replaced by delta F in each and every point. Okay, then this is the resultant equation. Integrate this equation on both sides with respect to volume. Okay, so this is the resultant. On integrating the above equation on both sides over the entire volume, this is the equation we are going to get. Now by applying Gauss divergence theorem, so this is the one which we have seen already. So gradient dot A into dV is equal to surface integral of A dot ds. So A is replaced by delta F. Look at this, A is replaced by delta F, that's it. Now multiply both sides by F. Multiply both sides of this Gauss divergence theorem by F. Then this will be the resultant. This will be the resultant. Now look at this. The RHS part of this Gauss divergence theorem can be equated to 0 because which doesn't have any charge enclosed within it. Hence the RHS part of the surface integral part of this Gauss divergence theorem becomes 0. Then we left with only the LHS part which is equated to 0. Any integrand with volume integral becomes 0 on the basis of two cases. The first case is the integration will have both positive and negative charges. On summing both positive and negative values, it becomes 0. That is the one case. The second case is integrand itself 0 at every point. When integrand becomes 0 at every point within the given volume, So this whole integration component becomes 0. This is the relevant case in our particular situation. The first one will not holds good because we don't have any positive and negative values on this, since we have square term. Since we have square term, we cannot have any negative values. Okay. So hence the second point, second condition holds good in our discussion. Hence this component becomes delta into v1 minus v2 whole square is equal to 0. Since it is a constant component, so delta is taken onto RHS part. v1 minus v2 whole square is a constant. Okay. In other words, we can say v1 minus v2 is equivalent to v1 minus v2 is equal to 0. So on basis of this one, we can easily say v1 and v2, that is solutions, both the solutions v1 and v2 are equivalent. That's what we have mentioned in uniqueness theorem statement. The Laplace equation has one and only solutions, right? Unique solution, which is the same thing is applicable for Poisson's equation also. Hence, this is the proof. Both the solutions v1 and v2 are equal means the obtained solution is unique for the given boundary, given conditions, given electric field intensities, given electric flux densities. In general, we can say for the given boundary conditions, for the given parameters of the homogeneous medium or the different parameters of the different dielectric medium, different parameters of the dielectric and conducting medium. So uniqueness theorem is, solution of the uniqueness theorem is unique. Okay, thank you.